Hi, man. Sick. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, nice to meet you. Nice to
Yeah,
meet
nice
you.
to meet you too, man. I love your
So
work.
you just coming? Oh yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you make good stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. I was actually thinking about it because I was working full time for the last 2 years, just to kind of get things going. But in the last 2 months, things started picking up enough where I can quit my job and do it full time. So yeah,
That's
that which
awesome.
opens up time for stuff like doing the podcast, doing YouTube. So
I didn't realize you did YouTube. Wait, let me check
yeah,
that
I,
out.
I'm just getting into it. I've only done a couple of videos, so I only have like 200 and some subs. But yeah, it's something. Now that I
That's a
have time
lot,
for it,
man.
I want to pick up. So yeah.
That's a decent amount.
Well, I'd like to even start streaming because I was looking at your channel too, and you've been doing some streaming.
Yeah, I've been away for like 5 weeks. I've been in the UK for 5 weeks. So
Right,
I haven't streamed in a long time. But yeah, it was picking up before I left. I wanted to be a bit more serious, but it's hard to compete against people that are getting like all of the viewers basically because iRacing is such a small community and there's like three or
right,
four streamers that when they go live you just lose all your viewers and they all go watch them. So
right.
it's a bit
Well,
tough, but
especially because those guys, I mean, they've been doing it consistently for like 4 or 5 years. Some of
yeah,
them,
exactly. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
and even that, it's still a small audience, which
Yeah,
is crazy. I mean, you look at like guys like Ninja and stuff like Fortnite, the views that they're getting, it's just unbelievable.
yeah, that is crazy. Like, yeah, I don't even understand how you can like the biggest streamers on Twitch is just it's insane. Like that they can make so much money from doing something that is just it's fun. Like, you know, it's crazy. And damn, I'm really jealous. I'd love to be there one day, but I got a long
Right.
way to go.
Well, it's tough because even, like you say, that there's the top, iRacing streamers, which is like a drop in the ocean compared to,
Yeah,
what some
yeah,
of these other guys are doing. Like racing, it's always been such a niche sport with such a
true.
niche audience. But I don't know. I hope to change that because even for like, because I've always from like day one, from getting into like iRacing, I just did GT3. That's what I've always done,
Nice.
and like and that's what I really have enjoyed. But like the size of even like I just saw you on Blancpain last week, and
Yeah,
like there's only 20,000 viewers compared to in F1 there's 2 million plus.
yeah, that's crazy.
You know.
But it feels cool. Like I think GT3 is starting to grow, and it's going to grow even more. I think with the new like uh LMP1. What was it called? Like, do you know what I'm talking
Yeah, the
about? Like,
supercar or something.
yeah, I feel like
Mhm.
it's GT stuff's going to be quite big soon. No, it's not going to be ever as near as F1 because F1's got like for me F1's got like the history of being like the pinnacle and like it's got
Right.
a really cool history. But yeah, it already feels like a lot because I'm used to just getting like 10 viewers watching like my race and stuff.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
which
it
is
is
even
really
fun.
cool.
Well, and especially like you can be like there's such a large F1 audience, but I mean, even if you're into F1 and you're not like a, diehard racing fan, now that I think there's so many more other options, especially that's like you say growing in GT where people can hopefully start to kind of migrate towards that because even like even say like on the iRacing platform, it's the GT series that are always the most popular.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. iRacing is mega for GT racing, but I always feel like F1 is going to be top dog in like real life because it's got the money, so it has all the glamour and like
Right.
that attracts celebrities, which attracts more people and stuff like that. Um, I mean, WEC's not too bad. Um, But yeah, I always feel like F1's going to be better. I don't know. The F1 actually the F1 Drive to Survive thing on Netflix has helped a lot because it's helped.
Mhm.
I feel like it's sort of like showing I don't know how to say like normies,
Yep.
uh, like non F1 non motorsport kind of people. It's giving them a really good insight, and it's like showing them it's giving them an exciting way to watch F1 without having all the like details and everything. It's really cool. I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of people, like I'll just be chatting to like random people, and they'd be like, "Oh, damn, you're a racing driver! Like I just watched the Drive to Survive
Right.
thing, and like, oh, it's really cool. I've never been into F1, but like I saw that, and now I'm starting to get into it a bit more. It's like, oh, that's really cool to hear. They're like people are starting to get
Yeah.
into it just because of
Yeah.
Netflix.
And well, I mean, I think Netflix is actually promoting it pretty hard because even like it was the same exact thing. Like, even my girlfriend, who doesn't follow anything racing other than maybe my page, she told me, she's like, "Yeah, I saw the F1 documentary on there,"
Yeah, it's
and
hella
yeah, so
popular. It's really good. I'm happy. I'm happy they've done that. It's bringing the normal people into it. It's really cool to see.
well, even the new ownership, it seems like they're doing a really good job.
Oh, you mean like Liberty Media? Yeah, I think they're
Yeah,
doing a really good job. Or, I mean, some things are a bit like, I'm not sure. Like that new song they made, um,
yeah,
I was a bit like, I'm not sure about it. But yeah, they are making it like more exciting. I think definitely.
right, right,
We need
and
someone
this,
like that in GT, man. That would be so
that's the
cool.
thing. Well, because this is exactly what I was talking with David Perel about is like F1, it also has the story. Like you're not just following, Mercedes or Ferrari, you're following those drivers and their story.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that's something that I think GT could really try to learn to be better at. But because, I mean, the hard thing is, even like, say, I was watching, Blancpain last weekend.
Yeah.
There's like you want to learn the teams and the drivers, but there's so many
Yeah,
just
that's
in one
true.
race,
I mean, there's 50 cars and there's like three drivers per car. So
right?
it makes it like so difficult to keep up.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if it would even make a difference if they started to limit. You could only have like two drivers or something. I don't know.
They're limiting the number of cars in the sprint series, or it's called GT World Cup or something, World
Yeah.
Challenge, um, which is good. It makes it a little bit easier to follow, and like you can sort of support people, and it's better for spectators for sure. Um, but with endurance, it's such a popular thing. I feel like you're never going to be able to limit it, and you also kind of for the longer endurance races, you kind of need three drivers or four drivers.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of, I guess, part of the sport. I mean, it's not really meant to be a spectator sport as much. I mean, when it's a 24-hour race, I mean, you can't really
Yeah,
expect the fans to watch every minute of it.
yeah, that's true. But Spa 24 will be cool. They have lots of like stuff going on. It's like a festival. It's crazy.
Right.
It's just mental.
Yeah,
Like
that's what was actually really fun. I went to Sebring.
oh
Um,
damn, Sebring
yeah,
will be cool. Yeah, it's in a cool area, isn't it? I don't
yeah.
know
I mean,
exactly, but
well, so so it was actually my first time going to Sebring, and it's so like when you fly into one of the major cities, but then it's like a 3-hour drive to like this really small town, like middle of Florida. Out, it's
oh
kind of out in
okay,
the middle of like nowhere.
oh
But
okay,
once you get there, there's like the thing is like there's obviously no hills, but it's just spread out, and it's like campers and people everywhere,
that's
and people
awesome.
so they camp out for like the whole week just in the area, and like I mean, it's obviously you can't really compare it to Spa because I mean that's just such a
It's completely different,
it's such a
but
different world, but yeah, it's still really fun.
yeah, Americans honestly, American racing is just like it's just so cool. Like Americans do it right, man. Like they get the barbecues out and they get the
Yeah,
campers out, and it becomes a whole just like everyone's just drinking and like having a good time and shouting. It's awesome. Like
yeah,
I'd love to like experience that from like even from like a spectator side. I think it's just like it's just a
yeah.
laugh for everyone. It's so
Well, the
cool.
the fun part about Sebring too is, I mean, it's since it's a small track. I mean, it's built just on an airfield, an old World War II airfield,
Yeah.
but so you can walk around to every corner. Like like, if you're at a big track like Nürburgring, and you're kind of just in one little area, but
Yeah.
like I went with my girlfriend and we could walk to every corner of the track and just kind of hang out, and all of a sudden you'd find like a group of campers, like you said, doing a barbecue, and you could walk over to a different area, and so it was kind of fun. I mean,
Yeah, that's the problem with Spa. It's too big. You can't like do anything
right.
really as a spectator. But
But
damn,
yeah, I mean that
I love
that
America.
track it's so, those tracks are so much more like famous, and just like, I don't know, like, even on the
The
driver's
American
side,
ones,
like,
or
no, it's like European tracks,
oh yeah,
like
yeah,
Spa, or Nürburgring, or
yeah,
there's so many famous ones.
yeah, yeah. That's true. But I don't know. America's really cool. I find I have a weird fascination for like American motorsport. It's kind of
Oh yeah.
strange. Yeah,
Yeah, IMSA's, they're doing a good job right now. Like they have a really good lineup. Like there's a lot of teams and a lot of participation from
yeah.
manufacturers.
There's
So
a lot of money in IMSA. It's crazy.
right.
I was I was like sort of considering. I've always wanted to go to America to race, um, but like the money there is just insane. It's hard to get in
Right.
there, especially GT stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's so expensive.
Yeah,
Which
everything in
right,
racing is expensive though.
right. Yeah, and that's where it's like, that's where I think what's going to come up is, since like, I think of course the real world racing is going to always be a thing, but the coming up is the esports, because
Dude,
you
yeah,
can
exactly.
have, there's so much talent, and you don't have to, I mean, you can have, you can do a couple grand and have a great setup.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. There was a really cool at Monza. There was a really cool esports event. It was like it was organized by the like actual organizers of Blancpain, and it's called like SRO esports something. Um,
I have seen that actually. Yeah.
yeah, it was awesome. Like every time I sort of had like a free moment, which wasn't often, um, but like I'd go with my teammates, and because they had a couple of like demo simulators, um,
Hmm.
we'd sort of just like go there and hang out and just like try the simulator. We were all pretty bad, admittedly, but like dude, esports is honestly so cool.
Hmm.
I loved watching because I play a lot of like League and CS:GO and that sort of stuff. So
Hmm.
I'd watch those esports as well, like the big tournaments. And then when I saw like iRacing was getting a bit more serious with their esports stuff, I was
Hmm.
so happy. Like it's honestly I find it so interesting, and there's so many good drivers that just don't have the opportunity to like drive. Um,
Right.
and they either don't have the money, or they're too busy or whatever. But I know so many people from the sim racing community that are like insanely talented, and
Right.
I'm seeing them sort of like go climb up the ladder. I'm really happy to see it. And that's why I started following you. I was like, damn, this guy's got some really cool stuff, and I want to sort of like I want to see if I can maybe like try and buy one of his steering wheels one day. And
Yeah.
because yeah, I strive for like a super immersive experience on the sim. Like I take
Right.
it really seriously.
Right.
Um, so if I had like this exact same steering wheel as I was using in real life, that would be crazy.
Yeah. That's kind of actually how I got into it too, because I mean, I got into, I've always been like a hardware fan. And so, getting into sim racing, and then of course you're always like gonna research, what's the next best thing. And, I'd watch Sim Racing Garage, on YouTube, and
Nice.
just completely just like, be in awe of how sweet this stuff looked. And I was like, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
start doing it. So,
that's crazy, man. You just like so you just started from like just like sort of making stuff by yourself, and now it's become
oh
this.
yeah, I mean, from absolutely nothing, like, so actually, my first wheel did completely by hand. I like carved it out of wood. Not even
Jeez.
kidding, because I was just like interested in it, and I went and so I just kind of did it for fun, and then I posted it like in the forums, and there were a couple of people that were like, "Wow, like I would pay for that." And then that kind of like I don't know, kind of sparked it for me. I was like, "Gosh, well, you know what? I could." It was actually really out of like naivety, not realizing how much is actually like how much it actually takes.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Man, I could sell 20 steering wheels at $1,000 a pop and make 20 grand, even though it probably cost me about 50 grand just to do that." So
Yeah.
it's, but yeah, I mean, it was from nothing. Yeah. I mean, I learned how to do CAD. I learned how to do, graphic design,
That's awesome.
advertising.
That's so cool.
Um, but,
Yeah, because like you look
yeah,
at your Instagram page, it could easily come across as like a professionally run business.
yeah. It's funny that I get that because people are like, wow, I thought you were like a big business. I'm like, no, I'm just a one man
Yeah.
shop. So,
Yeah, because like my friend, so I came across you through, I don't know if you're familiar, this a driver called Sasha Fenestraz.
okay.
He did European F3 last year, and he's doing a Super GT and Japanese F3 this year. Um, he he showed me this page. He was like, "Dude, you can get," because we always talk about steering wheels and like sim racing,
Yeah.
because he's got like a replica Mercedes F1 wheel, which is just like
Oh, nice.
out of this world.
Yeah.
And I always ask him if I can buy it off him, but he won't let me. He won't let me have
That's like
it.
a treasure. Yeah.
Yeah, so he showed me. He was like, "Oh, so you're doing GT3?" This guy, I found this guy that or he said he found this Instagram that had like these incredible GT3 wheels. And
Oh, yeah.
I looked you up thinking like it was going to be like this massive business, and I was like, "Oh, you've only got like, I think you had like 2,000 followers or something at the time,
Yeah.
something like that." And I was like, "Geez." And then I found out it was just like I like looked at your stories a couple times, and it was just like you in like a workshop, just like
Yeah.
making wheels. Like, oh damn, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, just in the shop, just in the garage, man. So
it's
I've kind of
impressive,
taken it
man.
over.
That's really
But
impressive.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, now to me, it's just kind of, what I do every day. But then I look at like what you guys do. Like, I mean, watching you in at Monza, you know, with these like top GT drivers in the whole world, like so many big names are in Blancpain this year. It's,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And then I just
It
think like,
was
man,
pretty it was pretty crazy. The
what I mean, so
first like experience I had was like it was just it was wet, and everyone had done loads of testing, and we did a little bit of testing but not a lot. But like I
mhm.
was just straight in the deep end.
Right. And you did. I mean, I was watching. I mean, you guys were up to like what, sixth or seventh at one point?
Yeah, I mean we qualified fifth.
Right.
We basically nailed qualifying. Like we were perfect in qualifying. I had some issues in my stint, but my two
Hmm.
teammates had like perfect space. The car was perfect, tires were perfect, and we did a really good qualifying. Um, and then in the race, I started the race, but it was my first proper GT3 race, and I'm like sitting on the grid in fifth, and my engineer just
Right.
comes on the radio and he says, all right, mate, just like, take it easy, calm down. And at this point, I'm like, I'm pretty into it. Like, I'm in the zone, I'm ready to go.
Hmm.
Um, and my engineer was like, oh, yeah, so all the cars around you, most of the cars have put their pro drivers in. So you've got like Dennis Lind behind you, Van der Linden, Nikki
Uh,
Thim.
yeah.
And it just keeps going on. And I'm like, mate, like, why are you telling me
Right.
this? I'm like, I'm so in the deep end, like for my first ever proper race. And I was like,
Well, maybe
damn, I've got all these factory drivers around me. I'm like, oh, damn. Okay.
that's probably the place to be because they're not going to bin it in turn one.
That's true. It's true. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, you don't really understand like when I first went into GTs, I didn't know any of the like GT drivers.
Hmm.
But now that I've been there for a while, or for a year and a bit, like the amount of talent you that is actually here is
Hmm.
insane. Like some of the drivers are just incredible, and like some of them have been in like F1 and in F1 development back in the day. It's
Hmm.
just yeah, it's I don't understand. I don't understand how there's so many amazing drivers that it just no one knows about if you're in single seaters or if you're not in the
Right.
GT scene.
Right. Yeah, that's where I think. That's where I think. I'm not sure who it should fall on, but I think there could be better marketing to really find a larger audience in because there's so many different storylines that you could go like. I mean, if you look at like Le Mans, think of how many different storylines you could follow to
Yeah,
tell an
that's true.
interesting like story, and people are into the long form story. Like, people listen to 4 or 5 hour podcasts. So it's not like people aren't interested in that. I just think that someone needs, I don't know, I think someone needs to find a different angle. I've thought about that a lot. Like, I've thought about trying to start my own series and see if I could, do a better job at that. But yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, there are a lot of drivers that have really cool stories, but it's hard to like to know who has one, and do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because unless you do like a podcast or like a really long interview or like that sort of thing, nobody knows really unless you're at the top, you're in F1 or whatever, because then
Right.
they interview you every day, But unless someone's like going around and asking people, no one's ever gonna know.
Well, that's really what David Perel talks about too. Is like, especially when you're coming up, you have to be kind of your biggest cheerleader in a way to,
Yeah.
you know, to put your story out there and refine it over, multiple interviews and just
Mhm.
get your word out there. And you kind of have to grow because I also follow Gary Vaynerchuk a lot, and he thinks that the opportunity of the next decade is creating a personal brand
Yeah.
on social media, and that is what race drivers have to do,
Yeah.
and you have to learn how to do it really well.
It's true. Yeah, I think because like I mean, you ask any of like the sort of younger drivers, and everyone's gone through like a social media boot camp and all that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but then it all ends up being they all end up posting the same thing, like just a boring, oh, this was what happened in the race, and I'm really happy. Thank you for the team, and blah blah.
Hmm.
One of the things I've been like trying to push is my sort of like weird and wackiness, sort
Hmm.
of like Ricardo in a sense. Like Ricardo's done is he's completely nailed the like social media,
Right.
um, pushing your own brand kind of thing, because there's not one person that doesn't like Daniel Ricciardo.
Hmm.
Um, but it's difficult because unless you've made it, it's it's kind of hard to do that because people want professionalism and that sort of stuff. Um, but yeah, that's actually interesting that you mentioned that because yeah, I'm trying to sort of
Yeah. Well, and
push that
that's
sort of
that's how you're going to get a following, is starting somewhere, and then over time you're going to develop your sort of online personality, and that's how people are going to find you and be interested in, like you say, like Daniel Ricciardo. Like, everyone knows he's kind of an eccentric goofball, and he's cheerful, kind of happy-go-lucky guy, and people are attracted to that, and they want to listen to
yeah,
him you know
yeah, yeah, exactly. Hopefully, people want to listen to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
We'll see. We'll see.
yeah, I mean, you're early in your career. I mean, you're a pretty young guy. I think you're 19 or 20, right?
Yeah, I'm turning 20 this year.
Yeah. I mean, so you've done a lot already, which is pretty cool. But
Thank you, man.
so, I mean, tell me, I want to know, what is the experience like going into, I mean, did single seaters, you got into
Hmm.
Super Trofeo, and then now kind of stepping up to the big league, and kind of at the big GT stage in Blancpain. I mean, what's that like? Especially even like your first race. Walk me through it.
It's quite sort of overwhelming, really. Like we moved into GT's Super Trofeo last year, because my main like dream outcome would obviously be F1. However, I'm I'm realistic enough to know that without the backing and the money, we're not going to get there. And unfortunately, we don't have that huge amount of backing. So GT was a more realistic option to make a career, because at the end of the day, if I can have a career racing anything, or being on the grid, then I'll be happy. I get paid to do what I love. It's perfect.
Right.
And there's so many more opportunities in GT racing. So yeah, we did the Super Trofeo Championship because we thought it was the best non-GT3 championship out there for GT cars. Obviously, that went well. And then, yeah, we moved up to GT3 in the Silver Cup. And yeah, it's like a completely different sport, even. Like, it's just absolutely mental. The best way I can describe it is it's just savage. It's just completely savage. You really have to be like completely on your A game every single second of the weekend. Otherwise, you'll get eaten up and you won't be able to show your potential. So it was quite overwhelming the first weekend. But I feel like I'm happy with how I performed, which was good. But yeah, it's just like there's so much detail and so much stuff behind the scenes that no one really knows about. Like the amount of work that goes in just to be able to do one lap and get it right. It's
Right.
it's incredible.
You mean the senses and the concentration that you have to have on the car to put a good lap in?
Yeah, I mean, even just that, and also like how much stuff we have to do off track in like preparation, and like all the little sort of things what I'd say a professional does, or professional racing driver does. It's just all of that sort of stuff is just much more intense than what I was used to. It was good because it's sort of teaching me how to be a professional driver and getting me ready to be a professional driver. So that's very positive, but it's just it's a big step. Yeah, it's a very big step.
Well, especially because you're going from mostly gentleman drivers to all of a sudden you're kind of, like you say, in the Shark Tank, where you have guys that are fighting as this for their career, for their whole life, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
They don't leave any stone unturned when it comes to anything, and like it's kind of like you make the smallest mistake and you lose like 3 positions, kind of thing. You have to be so on the ball. It's pretty crazy. Like even qualifying, in qualifying, the chance of you having a clear lap is like 10%.
right.
But it's about how you manipulate traffic and like how you just nailing the a lap even if you have traffic, about how much you can extract from that lap. It's just like, I mean, it's the elite. It's the pinnacle of GT3. So when you think about it, it just is the pinnacle. Everyone's at the top of their game. I like to say it's sort of like it's the F1 of like tin top racing.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you really have to be the best you can be to do well.
And the thing is, everyone, like you say, everyone has traffic. So it's like, how well can you manage it? Because you're not going to have a clean lap like
Yeah,
like an
exactly.
F1. There's so little overtaking compared to when you're watching GT racing.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just it's hectic. Like it's really difficult to explain like just how hectic it is. I'm really struggling to find a way to explain it.
Yeah, well, and then not only that, but from the driver's end, but even like you said, the mechanical end. Like there's a couple teams that totally bend it in qualifying, and then 14 or 16 hours later, the car is completely rebuilt and they're racing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of these teams, like the mechanics, are just insane. I don't know how they. I think they're like superhuman.
Right.
Some like they don't get enough. They don't get enough credit. The mechanics, because there was like one Audi that crashed. Oh, sorry, one Bentley that crashed in qualifying,
Hmm.
and it looked completely just written off. And the next day we show up and it's there on the grid, and you're like, damn,
Right.
that's how is that possible?
And it's got pace too. Like, they set it up the same that it
Yeah.
was supposed to be, and they can build a brand new car and it still has that same pace. That's what's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another example of how on the ball everything is, especially the teams. You know how elite they are.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so are you do you sim race like quite a bit? I mean, do you use it mainly as your preparation for being in the real racing, or kind of how do you go about it?
So for me, I have a pretty sick setup, I'd say.
Hmm.
I use ProSim, which is what most of the top guys use, like Lando, Norris uses ProSim, and I'm sure there's many other people that use these guys.
Hmm.
But so I sim race a lot for. So I use iRacing a lot just so it sort of like keeps the rust off. It keeps me in that like racing mindset all the time, which is
Hmm.
good because I feel like it's if I'm not thinking about racing for too long, um, I sort of lose my touch. Um, so I use sim racing for that a lot, and also it's really enjoyable. You're racing against some very very good drivers. Um, and it's fun. It's all everyone likes to win, so when you win in a sim race, it's a good feeling. Um, but then for like actual preparation for a race, I use R Factor, um,
Okay.
because the guys at ProSim they use R Factor and they've got all the laser scan tracks,
Hmm.
and they make their cars so they're like incredibly accurate. Um, so I use that maybe a couple weeks before a race weekend, um, to just like obviously you can't it's not going to be at the same level as like F1 Team Simulator, um, but you can really use it to sort of practice techniques that you need to work on. Um, so like for example, if you need to work on braking, you can really use the sim to help work on braking, or if you need to work on like not putting too much steering input, for example, or anything sort of small like that. It's really good. But then also I use it a lot for just getting used to, because all of these tracks on well last year all of the tracks were very new to me,
Hmm.
and the car obviously was very new. It's very different to what I was used to. So I was using that a lot to sort of just like understand braking zones, braking references, which gear to use, which line is the best.
Hmm.
Um, so that I don't have to waste time trying to do all that stuff in real life, and then I can just get cracked on trying to work on setup or something or whatever the team want me to do. So it's perfect for that, and yeah, it's just without the sim, I don't know where I'd be genuinely.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think it's only going to keep getting more and more popular, but especially for the younger generation, they kind of have grown up on it and are using that, like you say, like to your advantage. Like you get to the track and you already know your braking points generally. You're not spending any of that mental capacity on, the fundamentals. You're already going, your first time in the car, you're working on the technicals. So
Exactly. It's like nothing feels better than rocking up to the track and your first lap. You can already nail
mhm,
a good time, and you're already on the limit. You're at the limit.
mhm,
That's the best, because obviously in GT racing, the amount of time you have in the car is just like it's so minutely small,
mhm,
um, because you have three drivers and you have to share time equally between the car, and the time you have on track anyway is not a lot. So
mhm.
without the sim, I'd have to use the sim to be able to get all of that information so that when I go on track, I can use every single minute, every single second, like to our advantage to try and further the car development or uh, work on test items for the team and whatnot. Um, you don't have time to trying to figure out all of that sort of stuff uh, because especially in the season because you don't have a lot of testing as well. So
Well, even in practice, I mean, from what I've heard, most of the time, your pro drivers, like in the practice sessions, they'll only get 1 or 2 laps because they want to give all the practice
yeah,
time to the AM driver.
yeah. So last weekend, um, I was only given a very small amount of time in the car in free practice because I did a race over the weekend before
Hmm.
at Monza as well in the Italian GT. But at that Blancpain weekend, I had very little time in the car because I mean it was good because then my other teammates could sort of learn and feel the track and because they haven't been there before. But it made it difficult for me because every time I went out, I had to be on it within half a lap, and then I would only have like maximum 4 laps to get a good feeling of the car and the balance and everything. Um, one of the toughest things about GT, I think, that no one, unless you're sort of in the motorsport community, understands.
Right. Yeah, and then you throw the wet on top of that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It makes it even more tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and even I actually, so there was probably last fall I was kind of calling around to a lot of teams in IMSA and asking them just about their simulators, trying to do some business development type stuff. And I was talking to
Awesome.
a couple of the P2 teams, the prototype teams,
Hmm.
and they it was interesting because I was talking to them about their simulator and they're like, well, honestly, we don't have one. We get one that we use directly from the GM factory, and it's like $1 million
Okay.
or whatever.
Um,
And then he's like, and then he is also like, he's like, yeah, and he's like, it was interesting because he's like, yeah, our pro drivers they really don't need the simulator anyway, and they don't get much practice, and it's like, okay, well, you just were expecting to hop in the car and be at your best. I mean, I'm sure there's some
it's
people that are that good, like Hamilton, but
it's still like yeah, it's such a useful tool to have. Like for example, Lando is on the sim like all the time.
mhm.
It's crazy, and obviously it's working for him. You can
Yeah,
see that it's his first, or yeah, it's his first year, and
yeah, he's been
he's
killing
on
it.
it. He's on it. Yeah, it's such a useful tool to have.
Even same with like Verstappen. I mean, when he was his
Yeah,
first
true,
year
true.
in, like he's a sim racer, and I mean, he's probably not as involved as Lando even, but I mean, he was. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's because those guys are also just in another world of talent. But
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah,
like, I can't. I mean, they always say that an F1 car is so hard to drive, and it's hard to really appreciate that if you don't really have a reference, and they all make it look so easy too.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's true. You if you like actually or if anyone saw the amount of like work that a driver had to put in to be able to get like a lap or a good lap like you'd see in F1,
Hmm.
they'd be like, oh damn. But F1, yeah, F1 is also just like on another level as well.
Well, and it is fun to like follow their stories. Like, I mean, all the different teams, the history of those teams, kind of the heartbreak of seeing Williams be as shitty as they are,
Yeah, yeah, that's
and
true.
like everyone wants to root for them because they know that they're a grassroots team and they're basically the only grassroots team left,
Yeah,
other
yeah.
than like because it's all manufacturers basically or large companies, not a real family team.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, that's actually true. No, but yeah, F1, I love the history of it. So like all the teams that have a lot of history is just I immediately support.
Mm,
Um, I'm sort of like a history. I mean, I'm very interested in history anyway, but like
hmm
F1 history is just amazing. Um, so yeah, it is really sad to see Williams down there, especially with
Yeah.
like they have two really good drivers too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really depressing.
I think everyone was kind of thinking that the Kubica kind of comeback story was going to be bigger than it has been, but it's totally, unfortunately, it's been a total non-story.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not really his fault because he can't do much. I feel like he can't do much to show his talent in that car. The same with Russell; he's extremely talented, but
hmm
both of them just can't do anything in that car. It's such a shame. And Williams is like it's a really interesting team.
right.
It's always really sad to see that sort of stuff happening.
That's because I mean, it's also getting so just outrageously expensive.
Yeah, it's that's like the when someone talks about racing, it's always money is always going to be a talking point.
Yeah, which
Unfortunately,
which is unfortunate. Yeah, because I mean, it should be sort of the great equalizer, because anyone can be interested in it, and anyone can participate. Like it really doesn't, like there's so often like sports are usually segregated between men and women, but in racing it
hmm
it, it really could be the great equalizer, and um yeah, I don't know.
but now they've introduced W series.
That is true. Good point. And
Yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna work. I mean, I don't know if that's gonna be better for them or if it's just gonna segment their own viewership even more.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really tricky. It's a really tricky one because they always sort of like people are always saying that they need that women should be equal, and they are equal in motorsport. There's
hmm
nothing stopping them from being just as good as any of the top drivers.
Right.
But now they've basically just shot themselves in the foot. I feel like um, by segregating them,
Right.
it's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, because I mean, usually, um, at least from sort of the more famous female drivers like Danica Patrick or um, Christina, I can't think of her last name, and IMSA, racing with Ferrari, but I mean, she won the championship last year, and it's, I mean, everyone thinks that's freaking awesome,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I'd love to see a female driver doing well.
mhm. Well, I
I
mean,
think it'd be cool.
it's really just, I mean, it's just is hard as it is to say, women just aren't interested in cars. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's why it's not that it's they're discouraged from being there. It's just that that there's different interest levels, and that's just kind of what the market is. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I mean, when you've got like millions and millions of guys that are trying to get into motorsport, like that, there's a tiny percentage of that are women. Um, so like out of a million guys, there's going to be a lot more talented drivers than out of like the small. I don't know how many people, how many
right,
women. If you, do you know what I mean? Like
right,
it's it's not that they're not capable. It's just there's so many less.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, there's a lot less women that are interested in racing, which makes it harder to find one that will be like the next best thing. Um, but yeah, the W series, I don't know. It's it's interesting.
right. I mean, even like say the thing that I find interesting is like I guess I would consider myself a racing fan, but I mean I'm mostly interested in F1 and GT racing. That's what I follow the closest. But like Formula E, like I've I've never really caught on to that. I don't know. Even though there's so many
Really?
big names that are getting into it, I just the racing seems so much scrappier, and I think it's because of
Yeah, that's true.
their circuits that they're on. It's all these tight little corners, and maybe that's just because
Yeah.
an electric engine just can't perform like a petrol engine can in the long run.
I to be honest, I've actually been, especially this year or this new season, um, I've actually been pretty interested in it. I think it's really cool to watch because they're like, I feel like they're in the city. They've got the heart of whatever city they're in. There's lots of spectators. There's lots of celebrities. Um, I get what you mean because the tracks aren't great because they have to be really tight and
Right.
um, lots of corners and that sort of thing. And I don't think the driving standards are as good as F1 maybe because you see there's a lot of crashing in
Yeah.
Formula E.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I feel like they're doing really well to incorporate fans into everything, and like they've got a lot of really cool ideas. I feel like.
And I mean, there's a lot of money that's starting to pour into it from manufacturers to famous drivers. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be really big in a couple years. I feel like it's just going to keep growing.
especially as the technology grows too, which I mean, they've known that from the start that, the technology wasn't the best the first, time around, but as it gets better and better, the racing is going to get better too. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
with battery technology and stuff like, cause now I think this year they're not doing car swaps, right?
No, no, they're just going all the way, which is
Yeah.
pretty impressive already because it's quite a long race. I'm not sure. I think it's like 40 minutes or so.
Hmm.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Maybe I never gave it a fair shot.
It
But,
was definitely bad like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not.
mhm.
I will definitely say that. But like with the introduction with the new to the new with the introduction of the new car, um, it's really I find it just interesting, just to sort of understand the technology, and I feel like they're pushing technology a lot, which is cool.
Right. Well, and that's like, I mean, it's interesting to see big manufacturers going in there into that space because it seems like the future of, uh, street cars at least is it's going towards electric. It's going towards
Yeah,
someday
yeah, I think
autonomous.
so.
Um,
Uh,
so yeah, which is cool. I mean, I'm sure the racing is always going to be. I mean, that's that you have to have that human element for it to be interesting. But like for me, like I'm a huge Elon Musk fan. Like I freaking nerd out to everything he does, and
Same,
like Tesla.
same.
Like I mean, it's just you got to
He's
root for
awesome.
him, you know?
Yeah, he's cool. He's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like a I think, and there's nothing wrong. You can be a total gearhead, but also be really interested in the new technology and electric too. I mean, I'd love to own a Tesla someday. Even as cool as I'd rather.
Hell yeah.
It'd be
Hell
cool
yeah.
to have a Porsche, but having the technology of a Tesla would be almost as cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Which,
I love Teslas. It's really bad. I shouldn't admit it because like I'm supposed to be like a racing driver and
right?
everything, but I think Teslas are really cool.
Yeah, yeah. They did it right. I'm actually listening to his book right now, and it's like, gosh, you talk about someone who has literally risked it all and given his all. I can't think of a story in history almost as what like the upcoming that he's had.
Yeah, he's got a really good story. It's one of those inspirational ones.
Right,
See it on Facebook all the time.
right. Yeah, and then watching him on like Joe Rogan and stuff, I just eat that up. Like I watch a lot of
Yeah,
Joe Rogan,
he's pretty cool.
but
That's the podcast that he smoked a massive joint on, wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny photo. I like the memes that came out of that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, the even a lot of the F1 memes too. I've been keeping up on. Those are good ones. Lando likes to do those, it seems.
Yeah, Lando's changing up he's lighting a fire in the F1 meme community. It's
Yeah.
really cool to see.
Which it's,
Yeah.
and I've seen more posts about Lando's memes lately, and it's cool. I mean, it's interesting. It's fun.
Yeah, I'd love to like bring that because like I'm a massive memer.
Yeah.
Like I'm a huge memer and I'm trying to bring it into racing, but like not a lot of people are into it. But because Lando's in F1 obviously, so it's easier for him. But people are loving it. It's really cool to see.
Right.
Hopefully I can sort of like try and make my way in there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I
One day.
think it just goes back to that personal branding. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's what I'm trying to do with the Twitch stuff as well, because then I could sort of like be myself a little bit more
mhm.
on there and show people like my true self a little bit more, which is cool.
Well, I think that's why like Niki Team is as famous as he is, not necessarily from his achievements in endurance racing, but just that he does Twitch and YouTube so well.
Yeah, yeah, he's pretty good at that stuff actually.
Because I
He's a
was,
big guy.
yeah, I mean, he's made such a, and that, I guess people were able to discover him that way, and then they became interested in him because he is kind of a total goofball, which is awesome. But
Yeah, yeah, I love him.
I'm hoping to
He
get him on the podcast. So
I mean, I think he'd be down. I feel
yeah,
like he would.
yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm working on. I got that Vantage wheel coming out, and so
Oh yeah.
hopefully we'll work something out, and then I'll be able to sneak attack him into the podcast or something.
That's true actually, because that wheel is like incredible, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It came out good. So yeah, I'm working on a lot of stuff actually. I've got kind of designs for probably 3 new wheels,
Oh, can
and
we get an inside scoop?
yeah. Well, I've got a design finished for the AMG GT,
Okay, cool.
and
Nice.
I've got a finished design for just like a button box for my steering wheels, because I mean I've had so many requests for one, and about I should have done one a long time ago, but so I got that in the pipeline.
Nice.
I've got the new Vantage GT3, which is
Okay.
it's the same as the 911 GT3R, the 2019.
Okay.
It's like a full
Yeah.
carbon fiber body, um,
Damn.
and so yeah, I got that kind of in the pipeline. Um, so yeah, I've been spending a lot of
Okay.
money on like tooling and stuff, and so hopefully it pays off. So
Yeah, dude. Honestly, like I can't. I feel like I'm just like fanboying like low key, but I actually the stuff you got is just incredible.
yeah, and that's why I keep doing it. I mean, everything, basically every dime that I've made so far has been reinvested into it, because I think it's growing so much. I mean, like companies, like SimLab and Huizingfeld, like they like they had to like close down their website for a month because they've been so inundated with orders. And I mean, I've been super busy.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like they're like, I
Jeez.
know SimLab, they like shut down orders for like 2 weeks because they just couldn't keep up.
Damn.
And so I
Sim
mean,
racing's big, yeah.
yeah, and I'm super happy for them. That's awesome. And so,
Yeah, for sure.
but
That's awesome.
yeah,
I didn't
hopefully
realize.
I can grow to that level.
You've got the stuff. Like you have the products you have are like good enough to be at the top. So I think you're sweet, mate.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so and it's fun, the GT stuff, because each car has it's something different, and they're all cool in their own way. And so, and that's kind of what people like when you walk up to one of these cars, you kind of nerd out over the steering wheel, and you kind of congregate around it. And
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, that's just it's
Yeah, that's true actually.
one of the interesting parts of the car, and that's what you engage in. And so yeah.
But yeah, The button box you have, is that like just a button box, or is that, do you attach it to a steering wheel?
It'll be like a button plate, but it'll be all
Okay.
carbon fiber.
Yeah, because like the I use a button box, but it's literally, I just have like a numpad that I've just plugged in, and I've put like
Right.
some tape, I like some paper over it, and
Yep.
like written like bias or
Yeah, for
APS.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
I need to cop one of those, man.
Yeah,
It's really hard to find a good like a decently priced good button box.
yeah. I've kind of noticed that too. And they look like they're pretty basic. I've of course thought about doing that too, but yeah, I've kind of been so limited on what I can work on. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
But you got a lot of stuff, and you got a lot of stuff in the pipeline though, so I'm excited to see all the new stuff.
yeah, for sure. And I'm hoping to have. I've got my R20 coming out. It's kind of like the next generation to like my R1 wheel, which is kind of just a standalone wheel. But I'm hoping that this
Yeah.
car or this steering wheel can go in actual cars. So that'll be cool.
Oh damn.
Because I
Okay.
actually get a lot of requests of guys that have like those like three-wheeled kind of like sports car roadster type looking things, like
Mm-hmm.
and other people that have like kit cars or even like tuners. I've gotten a lot of requests. They're like, "Hey, can I use your wheel in my car?" And I'm like, "Well, it's really not rigid enough, but
Damn.
um, but yeah, this next wheel would be able to because they all say they're like, there's no good 300 millimeter, 310 millimeter open top, and so yeah, I'm hoping to kind of break into that market. That'd be cool.
That would be insane, man.
Hmm.
Like simulator and normal racing car wheels.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. And even street car. I mean, I guess I can't really advertise as that, but you all in air quotes. You can if you want, but I can't advertise it. So, but but yeah. So I mean, tell me, what do you got? What do you got? Kind of plans for the future? You want to keep continuing with Blancpain, grow a career there, and kind of eventually get to the factory level, or what are your goals?
um, to be honest, just to have a career in motorsport would be perfect. I'd love to just be able to drive and get paid.
Hmm.
I don't really care what car I'm driving. Obviously, it would be good to be at a factory level, because I mean, of course, everyone wants to compete to win. Um, Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Hmm.
Um, so that would be great. But just to get paid and be able to, make money doing what I love, is all I could ask for. At the moment, Blancpain is the best option. There's a lot of factory teams, and it's it's getting bigger, and I feel like I'm able to sort of show myself. Like I'm still quite young,
Hmm.
and as my first race, I felt like I did well.
Hmm.
So hopefully, in soon that someone might see that, or a factory team might see that and be like, oh, this guy looks pretty cool. We should pick him up.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's hard to say. I'm not sure what will happen. I'm just sort of I'm taking every weekend as I go, doing the best I can,
Hmm.
trying to, um, regardless of the result, I'm trying to just show my best, show my ability, um, and then hopefully, one day someone will see and appreciate that.
Hmm.
But I can't really, I have no idea what the future holds for me. So yeah, fingers are crossed all the time,
Right.
basically.
And that's another thing where it's like you have to constantly be on it. It's not where you just kind of hop in one weekend and forget about it. I mean, there's weeks of preparation kind of leading up to it. If you want to
Yeah,
if you want to
exactly.
compete at that level, you can be a gentleman driver, but you're going to have to probably be spending a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good because GT3 is a lot of gentlemen drivers that sort of keep the championship going.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's like I really have to do a lot of work to be where I am, and I'm not even at a pro level yet.
Hmm.
Um, So it's tough, but I love it, and it's everything's worth it if you come across the line, and if you win or whatever.
Hmm.
Even like um, the Italian GT weekend I did in the week before the Blancpain, just to be like, because I got like a 50-second lead before I had a puncture, but just to get there, and I was like, nice, like it just feels really good to show everyone uh, how good you are.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't want to say like I'm how good you are. 'Cause it doesn't sound very humble,
Well, that's
but
the sport, though. I mean,
you get what I mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, tell me how does like the experience of driving in a a real GT3 car compared to the sim? I mean, what's the experience like compared? I mean, how close is it?
Um, it depends what you're using. I think what software you're using makes a big difference. Personally, iRacing, uh, the GT3s are they're accurate to, but not to the manufacturer, if that makes sense. Like, um, for example, in real life, the Audi or the Lambo slides around a lot on the rear
Hmm.
uh, and has massive oversteer. But on iRacing, it's not like that. And for example, the Merc in real life has like an insane amount of front grip,
Hmm.
but on iRacing, it's not like that. But it's good like as a general sort of like GT3. Um, but like if you have good models on like R Factor and stuff, it's literally the real thing, except you don't have the G forces really, and the feelings of like ABS and stuff. Because if you've like used ABS in a car before, I'm sure maybe you've had to use it at some point. If you've
Hmm.
like you're about to get to a traffic light and it just goes red or something, and you like have to slam the brakes. You can like feel a little bit of like movement in the brake
Hmm.
pedal. You don't get that on a sim, obviously. Um, and yeah, the G forces, but like the actual sort of the feeling of the car, how the car reacts to certain inputs, it's basically close to identical. Um,
You know,
yeah, it's insane how good some of the sim stuff is now.
that's actually a really interesting thing that I thought of now that you say of that is there's no pedal set in the sim that lets you know when you're getting locked into the ABS, and you know where that limit is obviously in the real car because you can feel it, but you can't feel that in the sim.
Yeah,
It's interesting. That's
yeah. So you have to sort of like you just have to eyeball it on the sim, which makes
right.
it quite difficult.
Hmm. That would be something I think worth looking into just because, yeah, you have no idea if you're locked, if you're stuck in it or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
It'd be. I feel like it'd be a really difficult thing to do though, to have like movement in a brake pedal.
right. Yeah, unless it's like just
I
one
don't
of those
know.
little
Maybe
rumble,
we'll see.
like rumble vibrator things. But
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly.
because I have seen some pedal sets that have something like that. But yeah, I suppose
Really?
with the with iRacing, what they probably do is they have a one-to-one model, but their BOP, I wonder if they just change it so it's competitive, not relative to what the physics of the actual car are like.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, they can't really sell cars that are like competitively different. I feel like they all have to be like equal.
Hmm.
But like in real life with the BOP, it's not equal. There's always a manufacturer that are ahead at some tracks. Um, there's always a car that's faster in the straight line than you. There's always a car that can do corners or can brake better than you,
Hmm.
um, depending where they are. For like example, the Mercedes was insane at Monza.
Hmm.
Um, but then hopefully, if we go to somewhere like Paul Ricard, it might be a different story. And like the Lambos were always struggling in the straight line, and that's just how it is in real life. But I feel like in iRacing you can't really have cars that are like that far away from each other. Otherwise, it would be they wouldn't be able to sell the cars because they'd buy the consumer would just buy the best one that's always fastest.
Yeah, you see that a lot actually. Like especially when I was big into it, like the McLaren, like that was the most overkill, like it was the best car, and the whole field would be driving it, and it's just like killing. You know, what I mean, it's kind of like killing the immersion factor, but
yeah. But there's one of the things about GT3 is you have to play with your strengths, because you'll have an advantage over someone else in a different car in a specific place. So you have to really work with that advantage, and you have to be smart about it. Whereas in iRacing, you can sort of just get in anything and that's it. Which it's not a bad thing because it makes it fair. But if you want it to be like, super duper like realistic, then you can't be like that. But I don't think it would work, to be honest.
Well, I mean, the thing that Blancpain they've done so well is like their BOP is so good, and like WEC, like it's been so bad lately. It seems.
Yeah,
like they just can't get it right.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's a difficult thing to get right. I feel like. I mean, I think last year they really messed up the Lambo, from the performances that I've seen. But I think this year they've helped Lambo a little bit more, which is good. But yeah, there's always going to be a car that's like better than you in some places. But it's a tough job. Whoever's the BOP, like, man,
right?
He has a tough job. But I'm surprised WEC is bad. I didn't realize it was that bad.
I mean, it's not horrible, but I mean, you do hear complaints about it. But
yeah,
not.
I mean, everyone complains in GT3 too.
That's a good point.
So there's always going to be someone complaining. I feel like.
But the fact that they can even make a Bentley competitive with a Ferrari, or I mean that in itself is impressive because they're such.
Yeah, the Bentley is like it's surprisingly good though. Like, you would think that it's heavier. That it's really heavy, but it's lighter than the Lambo.
Interesting.
And it's really cool. That thing is fast in a straight line. It's crazy fast in a straight line. But obviously, it's pretty big. So. You're like, when I got overtaken by one on the weekend, and like I couldn't see past it. It was
so huge,
like a massive roadblock in front of me.
Yeah, that's funny because I did notice that like it sits so much higher, like the Lambo or another car that sits so much lower. It's like your eye level is like to their like lights or their hood.
Yeah, yeah, it is a big car. It sounds like rough too.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool seeing all the different manufacturers racing with each other.
Yeah, and it does make it because you can have your favorite, and
the 78 Lambo is the best though, for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Just saying.
It's Black Bull, right?
Yeah, that it should be everyone's favorite.
Yes.
We have a good looking car.
Yeah, I think so.
Good looking car, good looking drivers.
I saw that you had like Assetto Corsa on your car, like a.
Yeah, because Assetto Corsa is the official sponsor for Blancpain GT.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there's a new game coming out called Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Right.
I think I said that roughly right. It's basically it's a Blancpain GT game, which is awesome. Like they basically said at the start of the year, they were like, yeah, we're going to take scans of the car, all the cars, all the drivers, all the helmets, and we're going to make it into a game. And I was like, damn, okay, I'm going to be in a video game. This is pretty cool. I remember like, it's like one of my dreams as a kid to be in a video game. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Like the game comes out in May, but the actual 2019 update comes out in September. So it'll be all the old cars and all the old drivers and stuff.
Oh,
still, I mean, that's a pretty cool thing, and that's I think that's why they've had the esports thing going on at the race weekends,
right?
But it's cool because you get all the real life drivers going and sim racing against each other is really good fun.
Yeah, that would be cool. Especially, I'd like to see what the pace difference is. From these real life pro drivers compared to these pro sim racers. It'd be interesting.
Honestly, we're like we've got work to do on the sim to catch up to those
Yeah.
guys. Genuinely, like some of those guys are just I have no idea how they get that pace.
Well,
It's just like
it's vice versa too, I'm sure.
yeah, of course, of course.
But yeah.
But like there's a load of real life drivers. I mean, like all the guys that I've raced with in the sim, uh, in real life that we've gone on the sim together on, we've always been slower than like the professional
Mhm.
guys.
You know what?
I
A big
yeah,
misconception too is, coming as a manufacturer, people think that you need to get, the most expensive equipment, but a lot of times, a lot of these aliens in the sim are just using like a cheap G27,
aliens.
and
That annoys me, man. That just annoys me.
just
Like, oh,
because you don't have that force feedback. All it is it's just muscle memory, and they just they just memorize it, and you really there's no real you know forces, no feedback, and it's all it that's all it is. And so it's
that's honestly just that's insanity to me. Like, I cannot wrap my head around how they do
yeah,
it. Because like I have like a really expensive like setup and like I was like, this is a big investment. I'm gonna, it's gonna help me. And then like some guy rocks up with his G27 and he's like 2 seconds faster
yeah,
than me. And I'm like, how? Like what is my
yeah.
life?
No, it's I mean, it's because I think it's they don't have the forces that they're fighting, and so it's a lot easier. I mean, they could hit a curb and their wheel doesn't even move, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
But I mean, then again, you can I'd rather be more realistic
exactly.
as well
Yeah,
though. Because then otherwise if I went into a car or into a real life car, I feel like I'd be terrible.
exactly. And that's where, I mean, it's like for you completely worth it. It's not like you want to you obviously want to take your real world racing career more serious than your sim racing career. So
Yeah, yeah. But I would like to. I'd love to be like an esports. Maybe not an esports athlete. I don't think I'm that good, but like close, a semi-pro.
well,
It'd be
I think
cool.
from kind of from the start of starting up turn, I have been thinking how cool it'll be to see pro sim racers, and not like the pro that they call them now, but people that actually get paid to do it.
Yeah, I don't know many. I don't think I know anyone that does,
Right. Well, I mean, that
but
it's kind of
it would be cool though.
growing to that,
Yeah, for sure. In a couple years, there'll be
hmm
people. Because, like, I mean, the F1 esports is big, but I don't know how much. I don't know if they're getting paid or how it
Yeah,
works.
I've got a couple guys lined up for that are actually on the Williams team, so it'll be interesting to talk to them.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, damn.
yeah.
I feel like a peasant here
No,
now.
no, no, no. Just the Williams esports team, not the real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm joking. I'm joking.
um, but uh, but yeah, I've tried to reach out to a lot of people, and the more famous they are, the harder the harder they are to get in their
Of
DMs.
course, of course. Yeah, because they're like they think that they're like the next best thing, and they don't want to do any interviews and
Yeah,
stuff. But I love doing this sort of thing. It's fun.
I
It's enjoyable
I
for me
saw that
too.
Billy Munger follows you. It says that on my Instagram page.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Billy and I are
Yeah,
friends.
because you're from. So,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
you grow up in Great Britain, or kind of where?
No, so that's a complicated story when people ask me where I'm from.
Yeah.
So basically, I was born in Singapore. I and then immediately after, just under a year after I was born, I moved to Hong Kong for 7 years, and then I moved back to Singapore for 7 years, and then to England for about five.
Hmm.
Um, but my dad is English and my mum is Malaysian.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I'm sort of from like everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, so I lived in England for 5 years for racing purposes, and I raced in British F4 with Billy. So like we were sort of like, I mean, we weren't like best friends, but like I'd see him around and we'd chat every once in a while. And then after he joined, after I went to British F3, I kept watching. I kept watching British F4 and all that sort of stuff. And then after his crash, I I just try to help him out as much as possible with all the stuff I could do. And then obviously he went to Carlin, and I was at Carlin while he was there, and I try to help him, with all that stuff, and because he wanted to get back in the car, and I try to help him with that sort of stuff. But I mean, like, yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's done.
We were watching that race live, and it was just
Really?
like so sad to
Wow.
see. Yeah, all of us, my dad and Trevor Carlin, who's the owner of Carlin, we were watching it. We were at Alton Park or something, doing our own race weekend, and when we saw it, we're like, oh shit, that's not
Yeah.
cool. Like that's something you don't like to see as a racing driver.
Even like non-racing fans, like I've seen the reactions, like, wow, that's just scary.
Yeah, but it's incredible how much support he's getting.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for the
Yeah.
guy. Like, it's a shame because like he's getting famous for the wrong reasons. I feel like it's like he should be getting famous for like his courage and his like the fact he's brave enough to get back in the car, and that he's a talented driver. But it's sad to see that he's getting popular because of the crash and like
But he's
yeah,
getting back
it's good to
into
see.
racing. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I haven't followed him as much lately. I'm not sure what he's doing, but I mean, I heard he is trying to get back into it, right?
Yeah, so last year he raced in British F3, which was the championship that I did in 2017. And he did incredibly well. I was surprised at how well he did. He got a couple podiums, or like on his first race back, he got a podium or something like that. I was like, damn,
That's awesome.
That's incredible. I'm not sure what he's doing this year because he's trying to move up into a bigger F3 car, but the problem is it's a lot of money, and I think the cars that he wants to drive, the championships, like obviously one of the championships shut down and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not exactly sure what he's doing. I think he might be doing Euroformula or something along the lines of that. He did the Euroformula winter season, or the winter championship, but I don't know what he's doing for summer. It would be a massive shame if he didn't do anything this year, though. That would suck.
I've saw him on F1 though. He was one of the interviewers. So
Yeah, he's working for, I think it's Channel 4 F1. He's like a how would you call it? Like a interviewer. Yeah, I guess an interviewer is the word for it. I don't really know what the word for it is, but he's like doing that like full time too, which is really cool. So he's traveling to all the F1 races. I'm like,
man, yeah,
damn,
that'd
bro,
be
I'm
a
jealous.
dream.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I always thought someday how much fun it'd be to like go to every race. But
yeah, it is Channel 4.
I'd love to get him on the podcast.
That's crazy, yeah. Honestly, he's like such a genuine, nice guy. If you asked him, and he actually, if he actually saw the message, he would 100% say yes.
For sure.
He's such a down to earth guy. He would definitely be down to come on the podcast. But it's just because he's pretty popular now, so I don't know if you can easily get through to him. But he would definitely be down. He's such a cool guy.
For sure. So where's your next race at? Is it Brands Hatch?
My next race is at Silverstone.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not doing the sprint series. The sprint series goes to Brands Hatch, but I'm just doing endurance. So the 12th, 13th of May at Silverstone is my next race.
Awesome. Well, I'll be watching. So
nice. Hell yeah.
Good luck, man. Have fun. That's gonna be, man. That's a total dream. So yeah.
Yeah, I hope so, man, because I feel like we didn't get what we deserved last
Mhm.
weekend. So I hope we can. We all know, all of us in the team know our
Mhm.
potential. So hopefully we can show people next week or next race.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm gonna try to promote it as much as I can. So,
Nice, thank you, man.
but yeah. So, how can people, get a hold of you? What kind of stuff do you want to promote?
I don't know, anything like my Instagram is James underscore Pull. My Twitter is James Pull Racing. Um, and if you want to watch some terrible iRacing content and listen to some funny memes and have a good laugh, then I'm on Twitch. My Twitch username is Pulley Pushy.
Perfect.
Um, and yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad stuff. I'm not great, but we all have a good time and we have a good laugh. So it's
Good
good
stuff.
fun. And yeah, that's about it, really.
Well, best of luck to you. I'll be a fan, so I'll be watching.
That's awesome, man. Thank
You
you. I
bet. All right,
appreciate it.
thanks.